Open up your life this week on Afternoon Express as we celebrate style and sustainability. Artistry meets ancestry in the award-winning work of Bulumkombete. Alternative living influencers Alice and Ambrose welcome us into their caravan home. We visit the Naledi Guest Farm in Centurion to sample their delicious homegrown food. Architect Etienne Brits shows us around the self-sustaining Langeberg mountain home of Kobus van Wyk and Ruan van de Venter. And we attend the SA Style Awards to honor the glamorous achievers making their mark this year. This week, we're in the Magaliesburg property of talented sustainability architect Paul Murray.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're embracing sustainability and style, and no artist embodies style quite like Ubulumkombete.
The 2023 Absa L'Atelier Garrett Sekoto Award winner's work explores memory, inheritance and identity. Now she is back in South Africa for her solo exhibition, Like the Sky, I've Been Too Quiet, at Gallery Momo in Johannesburg.
Artistry meets ancestry through Bulumko's story, a journey across time, land and generations.
In 2024, we're celebrating 20 years of the Absa L'Atelier Gerard Sekoto Award, and you have been so impactful in your time here. Tell me, how has this award highlighted your work and also your experience?
I think it's been really amazing just because Gerard Sekoto is one of the first South African artists we learn about in school. And so for me, it's been really inspirational in that it's given me the confidence, the trust in the process of making, and also just like really inspired me to continue on the path and also kind of be impactful beyond just myself and the work that I do.
You have a solo exhibition right here at Momo Gallery. Tell me about the inspiration behind the title.
So the title, Like the Sky, I've Been Too Quiet, is actually drawn from the name of an album by an artist that I was listening to at the time that I was producing the show. And the title really resonated with me because I'm speaking about like the journey that my grandfather took prior to passing on, and thinking about that road trip in 1997, post-democracy. And I guess this experience that I hope would have been liberating for him to kind of like travel the country and be able to explore areas that he hadn't before, you know. So the album title, which became the name of my show, speaks a lot to like thinking about spirit, thinking about stories, thinking about how we pass things down. And yeah, I mean like thinking about the sky and ancestry.
My first impression of walking into Bulumko's exhibition is you could see Absa loves to tell stories. It makes so much sense why Bulumko is an award winner. Every single piece that she created here has a personal backstory to her, which is very, very personal to who she is.
This installation is titled In Our Mother's Gardens, and it thinks about the relationships between mothers and daughters, mothers and grandmothers, and thinking about how my making practice has come from them and how they use like textile objects as gestures of love within the family, and the knowledge that comes through learning to bead and the act of beading, and also these objects that we make as objects of divination. So thinking about like knowledge that gets passed down.
Tell me a little bit about the beadwork here that you have on the center.
So in terms of this, within my work, I also think about like migration within my family and what the migration means within South African history and why people migrated. This line is kind of tracing the migration in my family, and within this room, I've kind of documented different people's routes of migration, and this one over here is my own. This addresses the last home that my mom lived in Cape Town. And so thinking about tracing memory, tracing migration. And so there's like different ways in which I use line, and the beads kind of speak to that. And this is my mom's migration line.
The piece behind you is one of the first pieces a part of your exhibition. Give me the story behind it.
So this is from the body of work within this exhibition called Earth Song, Earth's Time. And so this is one of the first pieces that I made and that I naturally dyed. And I was actually taking a dye lab class at the time. And so I guess like it's a new moment within my practice, learning different dyeing techniques and ways of making marks on fabric and textile, and then integrating it with the beading techniques that I use.
One thing I love about ABSA is that they really highlight stories that matter. How does it feel to be an artist that is seen by such incredible big corporations?
I feel incredibly supported and really validated in being able to know that my career has a path, has a trajectory. It's really helpful to know that there are places that you can go to for support to execute ideas and to explore things that many of us are thinking about.
Do you think it's important to enter these kind of programs that ABSA always extends a lending hand to?
I think it's critical, and especially when it's something that is holistically focused. That's what's been really important about the ABSA Atelier, has been like the support that they've provided holistically and not just focusing on one part of an artist's career, but kind of showing you what it is to construct like a sustainable practice and a career.
Bulumko, thank you so much for having me at this incredible exhibition. What I can say to you is I feel the spirit of your family in this room, and you can see that all the pieces that you created really ties into the beautiful artwork that you're representing yourself as an artist.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Bulumko is weaving new narratives in African art that is really grounded in heritage and so much culture. And through platforms like the ABSA Atelier, ABSA always reminds us that your story really matters.
When it comes to alternative living and self-sustainability, French South African couple Alice and Ambrose live what they preach in a simple caravan in the countryside.
Building Our Way Home is the title of a blog by a French South African 30-something couple whose idea of sanctuary is a self-sufficient caravan-turned home out in the glory of nature.
So Alice and I met at a comedy club actually, because I'm a comedian and she likes comedy. From there our relationship grew, and during COVID we decided that we need to come up with a plan to get out of the city. I'm originally from Cape Town, so I'm a local.
And I'm from France, I'm not so local. I came in South Africa for the first time about 8 years ago, and I obviously didn't know Ambrose back then, but then I kind of fell in love with the people, the landscape, and the realness of everything, the struggles, the beauty, the joy, everything is real here.
Though Alice has a PhD in climate sciences and Ambrose a popular performer, the choice of home arose from asking, what if we're both out of work?
The experience of living off-grid in a tiny home it's quite a challenge. It's not for the faint-hearted. Every day there's another challenge to take on. But there's so much beauty in that as well at the same time. Like when I open the door and I just get a gush of the outdoor life is just like extraordinary. Every morning, sunrise is just amazing. So for me, that's the benefit of it as well. Soaking up where we are and the environment.
For me, the real benefit in living in a small space is how we actually learn about each other a lot more. We've kind of created everything from scratch. The care we give into the home, you know, there's a lot of love.
In the front of the caravan, we have our kitchen, and that's got one oven and a 3-plate stove. Got a fridge as well, and a basin. Next to the kitchen, we have a little toilet where our compost toilet is. And then moving on to where I am seated right now, this is our dining, seating,
Office.
It's a multi-use space. Behind me, we've got the bedroom. One step away is the bedroom, with also a lot of storage space underneath and our own personal clothing sections as well above that.
The renovation process took about 2 months. We really didn't have much plan. We knew how we wanted to look like, but then we had to work with what we had.
In the renovation, some of the things that we added was a lot of plywood. We kind of felt that the plywood was going to give us a nice finish.
Once the space was completed, it was very important for us to make this place very homely. So we've added some handmade gifts, for instance, from my sister here, some plants to make it warm and cozy so that it's really comforting to be in this space.
So when we first got to the plot, it was literally just bush, and we had to clear all of that with the help of some of our friends, just to see the plot that we were working with. The part that I like most about living off the land is we just really enjoy being around plants and absorbing nature. Eventually, for our food garden, the dream is to get it fully functional, to get it going so that we can actually come and get our produce and, you know, not have to go to markets and things all the time. Both of us are vegan, and for us, it just makes more sense that we learn to grow our own food, and we look forward to eating and consuming what we've grown.
Proving that vegans also do delicious. They keep their rescue puppy, Bonnie, well entertained with new recipes.
Today we'll be making a vegan chocolate cake. The process is very simple. You can directly make it in your mug itself. You mix the dry ingredients: flour, cocoa powder, custard, brown sugar, salt, and baking powder. And then you can add the wet ingredient. You can use any kind of milk alternative, or you can also use water. You don't need, just something to bind. And a bit of oil, 2 tablespoons, just to add the right amount of fat that you need in the cake. It must be, you know, soothing. And the star ingredient is dark pieces of chocolate here. One very important challenge in this recipe is the fire itself. You've got to have a lot of patience because you can't measure the temperature really. So you have to gauge and put the knife through and see if it's cooked. Patience is key.
So there's an element of trial and error which only adds spice to the mix.
Et voilà, mon amour, the food is ready. I think we've waited a bit too long on the cake. I think we left it a bit. But
fine.
You know what? Food is food. Chocolate is always delicious. So let's check it out.
Let's dig in. It's perfectly fine. You see, the bottom is not too bad at all. Yeah, the middle is actually quite banging. Oh, man. Yes. But what can I say? That is proof that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. This cake is, it looked burnt on the outside, but on the inside, wholesome and good. Just like our little plot over here. Thank you, my love.
You're welcome.
Ambrose and Alice find sanctuary in each other. Their life is the perfect expression of their relationship with themselves and with their environment.
You know, there's one thing about going outdoors that just brings that inner peace. And that's exactly how a lifestyle so close to nature finds this couple happiness and fulfillment.
And it looks absolutely amazing. Up next, sustainability architect Paul Murray shows us how he lives what he believes in his environmentally conscious home in Magaliesburg.
Award-winning architect Paul Murray has been focused on sustainable building for the past 30 years.
How incredible! His doctorate in ecological building and his natural building company, Simply Sustainable, have made him a global leader in green architecture.
Oh yes, Ayanda, absolutely. He's also the designer and owner of the beautiful Magalies property that we're in today.
Paul's journey in sustainable architecture began in 2004 with his move to the Magaliesburg. Exploring ecological building design, he became expert in clean and sustainable housing.
Paul, this looks so amazing. I feel like I'm in a bit of a cave, but still a modern cave.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting because I actually based my designs on cave buildings, and I think people here related to caves. All the early buildings are all caves in southern Africa, and in fact underneath where we're standing there is a really cave-like house that I've created below this.
Tell me more about your experience as an architect.
Initially I started as an architect. I studied at Brits, and then I went and I worked at the National Health Service in the UK, designing hospitals. And then I came back to South Africa, and then I decided to transition to sustainable architecture. It's something that always interests me. In fact, I did my thesis back in the 80s on sustainable architecture. And one bit of feedback I had at that time was that there wasn't really any academic work to back up my ideas. So part of my life has actually been creating that body of work.
What's your design approach when it comes to eco-friendly living, whether it's corporate spaces or residential living?
It's very much determined on the site and obviously the location. If we're doing a house up in, and I've done some work in Botswana, that's a very, very hot and dry climate, so that can have different design results than what I've done in Cape Town, where it can be quite cold in winter. So here in this building we have very big verandas, overhangs, so that we get protection, because in summer here it's really hot. Okay, we also want to be warm enough in winter, so the floor and the walls, they can store quite a lot of energy. So the idea is that they heat up during the day and that energy comes in through at night.
Paul's rammed earth technique uses all natural raw materials like earth, lime, chalk and gravel.
Talk to us about the idea and concept of rammed earth buildings and its revival.
Rammed earth is a very ancient technique. On our eastern side, we have a big rammed earth wall. So I really like building with earth because it just makes the quality of the space so much better.
For myself, I think it's particularly interesting being able to see the different colors and textures that it's able to exude. I mean, it truly is such a masterpiece within itself.
It's got a big aesthetic beauty, but it's also got a fantastic thermal ability. There is a little bit of a sort of hippie movement behind green architecture. And so people sort of think, it's going back to live in the way that we used to live thousands of years ago. There's no reason why green living needs to be backward looking. I mean, we look backwards to see some good technologies, but essentially it's a forward living way. And it's a way that we live with the world in a much more meaningful way.
This architect also revels in interior design, exploring the concept of connecting to nature with old, refurbished furniture pieces which transmit a natural and earthen feel.
Paul, stepping into the space, I feel like I've been teleported straight back to Ugogo's lounge, my Gogo Epizana.
I've got a lot of old furniture and some actually from my Gogo, my grandmother.
And you have been able to add those personal touches, even some from your travels.
There are a lot of interesting things. I have a very nice statue behind me of Maria, and going up to see the eclipse in Zimbabwe and driving past at 120, I spotted this beautiful statue and I had to have it. So.
And that idea of furniture choices, how have you been able to upcycle past materials and revamp and make it all new?
Well, yeah, no, I like to get old furniture and often fix it. The dresser along the side of the rammed earth wall, that was actually a throwaway. I have an old radiogram that I've turned into a modern music center, so I can play my music on a 1930s thing. So I use a lot of old materials. And in some ways, even the rammed earth is an old material that we've repurposed.
Coming from the outside, stepping in, that transition didn't feel jarring. So what was your approach when it comes to indoor-outdoor living?
This living space, for example, really is a good example of that. So both to the south you can move out and the level is the same, but we have also used the same material as indoor as outdoor, so the floor is seamless. And then you go into a lawn, and then we actually go out through a little bit of a cultured garden and into the felt. So there is this transition, because it's very important that you actually have transition spaces. If you just come from the outside to the inside, you never really feel at ease.
And coming up those stairs, I couldn't help but notice that eco-friendly pool.
Yeah, so the pool and the roof of the house collects water to fill the pool. Actually collects water in a central gutter and it feeds it into the pool. And the pool is filtered by a reed bed and with a little bubble pump pumping the water past the roots that purifies the water. And you'll see the pool is crystal clear without any chlorine, any chemicals. It's actually pretty much drinkable water.
As a global leader in his field, Paul's almost 30-year portfolio of work has won him several coveted design awards for architecture and innovation.
Paul, we've made our way to the bottom level of the home. Tell me about the space. Where do we find ourselves?
We're in the underground section of the house, and this was built to have a constant temperature. It's got an earth sheltering aspect, built entirely from rocks and sand and mud from the site. But even on the side, you'll see some of the existing underground stonework being exposed. So the advantage of this is it's really got a constant temperature. Because of the aspect of the land, we've managed to get natural light into all the rooms. This main room we're in now, we've got light coming in from above. I have a light shaft that runs all the way through the floor above and onto the roof, brings in light, and it also extracts the hot air.
You know, growing up in mainstream media, we get bombarded with the idea of a dream home. But you've been able to rethink this idea and bring it to life in a different way.
This space we're in now really fires people's imagination, and it's been really rewarding to me to bring people into this space and see their eyes light up. We're creating spaces that actually uplift us. You want to be in a place that improves your mood. That's what we want to build. When we follow fashion, we're actually following somebody else's idea. That idea worked for them, but it may not necessarily work for you. And it's really not very good to start living our lives through the ideas of other people.
For someone like me who does want to go green, what would you say? How best to occupy that eco-friendly consciousness?
One of the things that helped me a lot was speaking obviously to old people, because when you do green, you really want to understand the climate that you're living in. It might be sort of nice and warm at the time, but if you speak to old people, they will actually remember periods when the climate was different. They have a lot of advice. Other one is to look at vernacular architecture, the architecture that was here in the region and how people inhabited it. That'll also give you a lot of clues to how you can inhabit the space.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, and hopefully we'll be visiting you again soon.
No, my pleasure, and I hope to see you soon.
On behalf of our planet, thank you, Paul, for playing your part in preserving it.
Oh, we genuinely need more people to do so, so thank you for being a shining example. Up next, we visit a sustainable guest farm dedicated to clean living. The Naledi Guest Farm puts the focus on sustainable living. Sourcing fresh produce from their organic vegetable garden, they transform meals into delicious harvest table experiences. Their humble origins have grown into a natural lifestyle that they love to share.
Naledi's farm here in Centurion began as a children's book written by Manti Maifadi that inspired her to buy this land as a place for natural healing through interaction with the land.
Ngiyabonga, Ma. Thank you so much for inviting me to your beautiful farm. Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you found yourself here?
This is our family home. There's a husband. My husband is at work. We have 3 children. 2 at varsity, 1 is in high school, but this is where we gather at the end of the day. But we've also opened up this home of ours to guests. We have a farm restaurant that opens on Saturdays and Sundays, strictly by booking. There we take food from our garden. So the menu is always something new. We announce the menu like 2 days before, and it depends on what's in season and what's most delicious in our garden.
Have you always been passionate about farming and sustainability?
When we moved here, one of the first things that we did while the renovations were taking place was to have a vegetable garden. I'm that kind of girl who cries if I have to go and buy tomatoes in the shops, because I know that from that packet of seeds, I can have tomatoes for myself, for my neighbors, and if I preserve the seeds, even tomatoes for the next coming generations.
There's so many different opportunities to enjoy Naledi Farm, but at its core, it's a family home. So when we do step onto the property, what can we experience and what do we see?
We've got beautiful lawns down there where we sometimes have picnics and jazz on the farm. We've got a lovely boma for camps. In December, we're going to be having a kids camp where children can sit around the fire, storytelling around the fire, singing.
The farm's main attraction is the harvest table, a celebration and thanksgiving to the land for a successful harvest with mouth-watering delicacies grown right here in their vegetable garden.
So this is our garden. This is where I spend most of my time. I call this my church.
From the vibrant colors in your garden to the fresh aromas, you've also been able to introduce the concept to me that is fairly new, companion planting.
You'll notice that you've got a lot of things going on. You've got color, you've got textures, you've got different smells, because that is what nature is like. Nature is not about monoculture, but it's about different things, different plants growing together, helping one another. Hence, we call this type of gardening companion planting. So this is wild garlic. You can smell it.
Oh, wow.
Excellent for pest control. So we don't use any pesticides here, no chemicals here. This is what I'm talking about when I say companion planting. So we have this whole ecosystem working together, plants, little insects, to create what we see here. Okay, we are now approaching winter. So most of our beds are bare. In fact, we're putting compost and manure just to enrich the soil so that it's ready for planting in spring. This is your salad leaves, but you can see that they're still small. They are hardy, excellent for winter. They grow right through the winter. We've got the wild garlic I was telling you about, evergreen right through the year. We've got radish. We can go and pick some radish. It's also winter-loving plant. We've got some beetroot. I think we'll also pick some chives for the salad that we're going to make later on.
The options truly are endless when it comes to creating your own food within your own garden. Well, I can already hear my stomach grumbling, so let's go prepare the food.
Let's go to the kitchen.
Naledi Farms Foundation is rooted in Manti's love for cooking, her deep desire to bring people together, and sharing a meal made from natural and sustainable ingredients.
Mamanti, this is the true definition of farm-to-table living. Everything looks so welcoming.
Beautiful, hey? Beautiful. And today we're making a sorghum salad.
I've actually never had a sorghum salad. What do we need to put it together?
We've got some sorghum. It's already boiled in a little bit of salt. We've got some cherry tomatoes. Believe you me, we still have cherry tomatoes this time of the year. Some cucumber. I'm gonna put in some chives, parsley, and this very special plant, speckboom. Gonna use some lemon for the dressing, some olive oil, salt and pepper to season. And that's it. Those are our ingredients.
Well, let's get to cooking. Putting together a sorghum salad, a lot of people, like myself, might not be familiar with some of the nutritional value of the ingredients. Can you tell me a little bit more about sorghum?
It is indigenous, that's number one. Anything indigenous is good for our bodies. Excellent source of fiber, minerals, vitamins, just excellent for your gut health.
I do believe it's also a very good antioxidant.
Exactly.
A priority here is for guests to rediscover an interest in the culinary and medicinal uses of our indigenous plants like speckworm, African cucumber, and more.
You've been able to truly put together an incredible restaurant here. What makes it so unique?
Well, one, we have fresh ingredients directly from the garden, and then we cook. It's home food, you know, that nostalgia, your grandmother's cooking, your mom's cooking, simple ingredients, not too many things, because the food must stand out.
This salad looks exactly that. It looks awesome. It's vibrant, it's flavorful, and the smells and aromas coming from your kitchen,
yes,
immaculate. So let's get to the eating, my favorite part. I'm going to take the salad out to the table.
Central to running operations is Manti's life partner and co-owner of Naledi Farm, Samuel Maifadi. He shares in Manti's hunger to bring people together for teaching and healing.
Being able to put together something like the Naledi Farm can't be easy. It must come with some challenges. What were some of those challenges and how were you able to overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge is access to land. It doesn't come cheap. So it means really putting serious rands and cents together, but also finding a suitable piece of land was the big issue for us. We tried, we moved around looking for land that has got character, the land that can speak to this vision that we had. And after checking out a few pieces, it was when we came here to this particular one that I remember we stood on that stoop there, and the view that we saw, we were sold. We just thought to ourselves, this is the place, this is where the Naledi vision is going to unfold. We knew that this place was going to be a place that was going to host people. So we wanted that home away from home feel, so that as they come in, they don't feel like they are in a commercial enterprise per se. You know, that they feel, yeah, I'm home. This makes me miss my grandmother. This makes me miss home where I come from.
For family, I know I believe in a good supper and song, and that's exactly what you're all about. So can you serenade us with a little close? Etienne. That was soothing, that was sweet, and oh so soulful. Coming from a sustainable family, this is what it's all about. Making memories over meals and making special moments off of eco-friendly produce.
What a wholesome experience. It is so beautiful to see a family that is able to create bonding time all while running a business.
Next up, we check out a sustainable hideaway in the Glen Karoo. Understanding the need to go green, Cobus van Wyk and Ruan van der Venter created Suidster, a luxury off-the-grid cabin at the foot of the Langeberg Mountains, designed by architect Etienne Brits.
Their home shows how you can lower your carbon footprint, live off the land, and tap into greener living, all in style.
As South Africans become more mindful of every energy, water and food choice we make, Cobus van Wyk and Ruan van der Venter have seized the moment.
Welcome to Suidster in the Glen Karoo in the Langeberg Mountains of the Western Cape. We looked quite extensively at loads of places around Southern Africa and South Africa, and this place popped up. We just grabbed it with both hands. We wanted to be in charge of our own lives in the sense of having our own water, having our own electricity, having our own firewood, those kind of things that you can't really have in a city.
To make it happen, Cobus and Ruan turned to a specialist local architect, Etienne Brits.
The brief to Etienne was to have a one-bedroom house with a footprint not bigger than the house we had in the UK. That was the big thing, as well as to kind of melt away within the surrounding mountains. We gathered all the stone to actually build this house with a really thick north-facing wall to keep the house warm in winter and cool in summer.
The stone walls function as a natural energy reservoir or battery, retaining heat or cool for hours. Smart design to be sure.
I'm Etienne Brits. I'm an architect interested in natural materials and context site-specific designs. Generally, my designs look at massing as a tool for energy efficiency within buildings, using stone and brick, building with thick walls, allowing for energy to be stored within those walls as the sun heats them up. And then that heat and energy gets transferred into the house on the colder evenings, warming the place, and then also the massing of the walls keep the place cooler during the hot summer months. To keep the elements clear from each other, nothing really touches within the house. So the stone wall that you can see here, that is an expression of the outside material, is visible inside the house, but then where the white boxes meet, it's cut loose. So there's a slot running throughout the house that separates the stonework from the brickwork.
It's a discovery of old energy wisdom which does not rely on new technology and runs the length of the house.
These three cottages that we placed in a row, they became the main body of the house, and then to tie all of that together, we used the traditional stone wall built in the traditional way that you would see in the Barrydale area. To address the problem or the challenge of the slope of the site and to tie that in with the client's request to have the house as one space, the house steps down and opens up like a telescope as you move down the slope, with the ceiling staying at one level, focusing your view out towards the mountains.
Whether you're running the 5-kilometer trail the guys have laid out through landscape or just taking the sights in like framed paintings, the design has you feeling like you have it all to yourself.
Cobus and Ruan wanted a big open space, but to give some privacy. Each white box houses a different function within the house: the bathroom, the bedroom, the foyer, the kitchen and dining room, and the living room. and they're all connected through this passage that runs all the way along. So that creates this access through the house with the Karoo landscape on both sides, and this house opens up along the slope towards the mountains.
Life centers around food here, and whether you're cooking or eating, it always feels like you're doing it in the great outdoors.
To create more space in the kitchen, we created a cutout in the massive stone wall, and that's where all our services run all the way along the wall. And this creates a very nice space for the kitchen. We've got enough space for a massive island and then for the dining room on that side.
After 16 years of living in the cool weather of the British Isles, the simple climate-altering genius of greenhouse technology is one which Quibus has learned to make the most of.
This is my greenhouse. We grow all sorts of leafy greens that will struggle growing outside. We have all these boxes raised and on wheels so we can easily move them around depending on season. Some of these leafy greens and salads prefer a lot more shade, and we'll move it back of the greenhouse when it's too warm, and in winter we'll move it a bit forward towards the door where there's a lot more sunshine. As you can see, we have a lot of rocket, broccoli, sprouts, baby leaf spinach. We've got an avocado, a mango, and also this banana tree. In this box we have our strawberries. They do yield some awesome strawberries. In this box I have my small leaf spinach, and in this box I have my romaine lettuce.
Beyond growing what he eats, this is fine therapy for the man with the green fingers.
Gardening has always been a big passion of mine. It's something that I find very relaxing and meditative, and something you can enjoy on your own or with other people.
Resisting the convenience of a visit to the supermarket, to fully sustain yourself out here, you have to be mindful of the seasons and work with them.
This all used to be veld and fynbos, so I decided to build some terraces with my raised beds. Currently I only have garlic that's almost ready for harvest, and then some peas that I'm already harvesting, and I'm waiting for spring to kick in before I can actually grow all the other vegetables that I have for summer.
Though they could have kept the glory of these 110 acres for themselves, Ruan and Quibus built guest cabins which a top local designer has made the most of.
The first thing that I really wanted to incorporate was the name of the place, which is Suidster, translating to Southern Star. A big inspiration was the environment we find ourselves in, being quite a dry and arid place, and bringing that into the interior, especially through furniture details and color choices. So the whole space is one open living area that incorporates the kitchen, the lounge, a dining area, as well as the bedroom and bathroom. So each kind of replicating that whole directional design of north, east, south, and west, where each space has a specific view that it looks out towards, and obviously has like its function within the larger space of the cabin. Because it's an open plan space, the use of certain materials like the natural oak that you see in some of the joinery is really important in kind of linking the whole space together and creating that thread of symmetry that just merges all the elements. And that's also seen through other details like the soft curtaining, which kind of softens each area, as well as steel details that brings that edgy and modern feel into the space.
Out here, the flatness stimulates the mind and the mountains excite the emotions. And that soul of the landscape is reflected in Hendre's choice of rust-colored interiors inspired by the rock formations around the guest house. As for the owner, his happy place is making the most of what he's grown in the garden.
I've always liked cooking, especially for other people. It's been a passion of mine for many, many years. And it's something I grew up with, especially with my father and my mother. Our house was designed around the kitchen. That was one of the main briefs that we gave to Etienne. He basically made everything work, and everything was planned around the flow of the kitchen, where the cabinets are going to be, where the island's going to be, where the chairs are going to be, even with the folding doors opening to the outside. It was very important for us to be able to open all these doors, especially in summer, while you have a braai, and just have an extended kitchen basically, and just to share the space with other people and share our passion for good food and good cooking and healthy food and fresh food with other people.
What Quebers is also inviting us to do is be mindful of how we can sustain ourselves, live off the grid, from the land, and recognize how better to tap into renewable living.
Waking up in such a beautiful location must feel like a dream, a hidden gem in the heart of Africa.
And that's what we're about right here at Umzansi, being able to celebrate and elevate such incredible spaces. But next up, we're off to the super glamorous SA Style Awards.
Every year, the SA Style Awards produce a dazzling night of glitz and glamour as they celebrate the exceptional winners, making a significant impact in their fields.
All that glitters might not be gold, but it definitely is fabulous. Bringing their A-game to this year's SA Style Awards were a who's who of South African fashion, from actress and designer Enhle Mbali to Imprint ZA founder and creative director Suki Simbane, and many more.
You are embodying what that theme is, which is all that glitters. Tell me exactly how that theme is sort of tying in with your outfit.
It's all chains and shake that in the front and all glitz in the back. So it really embodies the style of all that glitters, but keeping in the elegant Audrey Hepburn kind of Chanel vibe.
What is your style inspiration for tonight? Because you really showed up for the theme.
2025 has been really kind to me fashion-wise, so I just want that to stand out instead of who I am, what I do, etc.
My style as Gigi Lamin, definitely very daring, very spicy, and I'm just going to slap on and say very authoritarian. I love being the captain of the ship.
Honey, you look gorgeous, embodying all that glitters.
Yes, they said sparkle, I said say less. Let's go.
How do you believe fashion plays such an incredible role in society?
It's a mood, it's confidence. It really is showing the world who you are without having to say a single word. This year really has been a celebration of life and healing and growth and embodying the sexy woman that I feel like I am.
We have really incredible title holders this year. Who are you rooting for and who do you believe really deserves their title?
Being a former winner myself, it was such an honor to be a judge this year and have played a part in my girl Zanele taking home an award this year. Are you kidding? So that's what I'm here for. I'm like, my baby, slay.
Expresso Morning Show star Zanele Botelwa won the coveted Next Best Thing award.
This is such an incredible moment for you. And if I think about your career in 2025, Sana, we are now here. How do you believe that this award has impacted you?
So for me, I think that this award genuinely speaks to how you should never count yourself out. I saw some of my peers winning it over the years and I was like, the time for me to win has passed. But God said, no, that is not the truth. Even when I counted myself out, I was counted in, baby. So I think it's just a reminder to never really give up. Anything is possible. And I also am so excited just because I feel like there was a lot of hard work that happened over the last year. So for someone to actually recognize it and say, hey, we see you, it's such a beautiful pat on the back and I'm grateful.
Musician Zoe Modiga's award is in recognition that since her big break on a top talent show, she's become the benchmark for style in the performing arts.
2025 is really about trailblazers. What does this award mean to you?
Being a trailblazer is something that feels so beautiful and important to me when I consider the fact that my work as a musician is to build worlds and to ultimately remind people of themselves. And I think the magic of what life is. Yeah. I think that's what a trailblazer is being about. I think that's what tonight's being about. So I'm happy to celebrate myself and be seen, and also everyone who has this special opportunity.
Well, what do you believe fashion's role is in society, especially with awards like this?
I think the role of fashion in society is for people to be able to see themselves ourselves and for us to look at each other and our stories at face value. I always think that words aren't necessarily everything. They're just a part of the way in which we communicate. And I think style and fashion and the way we present ourselves is exactly the same. It translates far beyond what people can say, but it's the thing that speaks before you open your mouth.
Famed for her dramatic roles in television drama, actress, producer, and entrepreneur, Lala Tuku took home the Most Stylish Business Personality Award.
If you are watching SABC right now, she needs no introduction. How does an award like this feel for you?
Such an important one for me. It's the most stylish business personality.
Yes.
And for me, I think it's not about what we wear, but how we show up. In the energy we bring into the room, but also navigating, the boardroom, the home, business and beauty. And I think it's about strength and softness as well. So it's a big one for me. It's for all the women who do that.
Who else are you rooting for here tonight?
I think for me, this platform celebrates everyone that is brilliant, that is creative, that's showing up in whatever that they are doing. So for me, when I looked at the list, I was like, everyone is so deserving in their space and their vocation. So important.
What do you hope for the future of SA Style Awards? Next year, we're moving into our 28th edition. What do you hope for the future?
That we sniff out 14 amazing humans who are doing great things in their genre of business. That's what we're about. We celebrate tonight with a party. We're celebrating South African business, creatives, amazing humans.
This year's theme is all that glitters. How does that tie in with what you're wearing tonight?
So we decided to put sparkles on my crop top here. Can I turn around to show my bow as well?
Give us a look.
Because look at the bow with
you.
the little sparkles. So I added some sparkles to fit in with the theme because I love bold colors, but they don't really shimmer as well. So we got anything that would shimmer to match the color that I have.
Amazing. I know you personally, and I know for a fact that you've served us look after look after look after look. How has your style sort of evolved over the years?
Thank you so much, my love. You look phenomenal yourself. I think the thing for me is I learned to be comfortable with my skin. As you know, I love to show skin. I love every opportunity I get, but now I'm not afraid to do it. I feel confident and I'm adding more color to my wardrobe and I feel good.
Next year, 2026, the SA Style Awards. Who do you believe deserves to be taking titles?
Ayanda G. Tabete.
And I concur. And just like that, the curtain closes on the 27th edition of the SA Style Awards in 2025. Every guest here looked absolutely sparkling with purpose, and the winners, breathtaking.
What a wonderful event and such a pleasure to rub shoulders with those incredible achievers.
A huge congratulations goes out to everybody who walked away with an SA Style Awards this year. And my sister, looking dazzling as always, but what did I expect? Standard obvious. And thank you, Mzansi, for joining us tonight. Please do remember to do your part to keep our precious planet a little bit greener. If you have missed this week's show, please do catch the repeats on Sundays at 8:30 in the morning. But until next week, Tuesday, right here on S3 at 6 p.m. City, good night and stay safe.
Another feel-good production.